Welcome back to the deep dive. Our mission here is to take a stack of source material, strip away all the noise, and really just extract the most profound and actionable insights for you, the learner.
And today we are strapping in for a deep dive into the unpredictable world of ambition, identity, and I guess the chaos theory of romance.
That's a good way to put it. We're focused on key excerpts from the book Duke by Jessica Peterson. And this is so much more than a simple love story. It's a really detailed character study.
Oh, absolutely. We're looking at the collision between two fascinating people. First, you have Wheeler Rankin, who is this Dallas corporate executive whose whole life is just defined by a meticulous long-term plan.
And then you have Duke Rivers, a Texas cowboy whose entire focus is the exact opposite. He wants to escape his structured life for what he sees as true freedom.
Yeah, and that's our core mission today. We want to analyze how their deeply held personal values, things like perseverance, success, freedom, how they are just, violently tested and ultimately redefined.
Right, when an unplanned connection just changes absolutely everything. We're looking for those surprising nuggets of knowledge about, strategic agility in life.
When your well-engineered plan goes completely off the rails, what character traits actually save you? It's a fascinating question.
It is. So for you, the listener, this deep dive will offer a really thorough overview of how these external unforeseen events, we're talking a blizzard, a pregnancy, and an impromptu road trip,
Yeah.
how they don't just alter a life's trajectory, but they force a fundamental redefinition of what success and happiness even mean.
Especially when you are grappling with a lot of unresolved emotional history, which both of these characters definitely are.
Oh, for sure. Okay, let's unpack this journey. Let's start exactly where the sparks and, I guess, the dust fly in Hartsville, Texas.
It's this tiny town. It's the epicenter of the sprawling Rivers family life, but our initial focus is on Wheeler Rankin. She arrives there, and she is just a stark contrast to this rustic setting.
She is a woman of the city, driven by this massive ambition.
Totally. Wheeler is the co-CEO of Bellamy Brooks, which is a high-fashion cowboy boot company based in Dallas. And her visits to Hartsville, they're not really social. They're strictly business. It all stems from her best friend and business partner, Molly, who inherited the massive 200,000-acre Lucky Ranch.
So Wheeler's professional life is really a story of grit and defiance.
Yeah, and that defiance is deeply rooted in her financial history. The source material is so clear on this. Her professional journey is defined by what she calls the long game.
The long game.
Exactly. It's built on perseverance, on overcoming financial hardship. She borrowed money from her parents early on.
But that funding was immediately cut off when she refused to follow their path for her, which was law school.
And that moment, that financial rejection, it is so crucial to who she is. It cemented her identity. It made her success less about, just wealth and more about proving her worth to this highly judgmental family.
So her goal isn't just to make boots. It's to hit it so big that her parents' whole legal world can't possibly ignore her.
Right. She's aiming for an Elle magazine feature, specifically highlighting their Jocelyn boots.
Which are described as these vibrant almond-toed mid-calf pieces in coral and turquoise leather.
I think the symbolic power of those boots is key here. Why turquoise and coral? It's not the traditional brown or black.
No, not at all. It represents her commitment to challenging that, that traditional Western aesthetic. It's high fashion meeting the ranch.
It's Wheeler saying, my vision is valid, even if that defies your expectations. Her professional life is just an extension of her personal battle for validation.
That's a really powerful interpretation. And it leads us directly to the source of all the chaos, Duke Rivers. He's the opposite of Wheeler's controlled ambition, yet he's just as defined by his own internal conflict.
He is. He's Cash Rivers' younger brother and Ryder's identical twin, which makes him number 4 or 5 in the family lineup. And he's instantly memorable, striking blue eyes, a Superman-like jaw.
And the family unit itself is described as this really robust, tight-knit, found family. It includes Molly and also Patsy, who's the ranch chef, and kind of an adopted mother figure to them all.
But for Duke, all that warmth is also, it's a cage. He has this burning desire to see the world. He feels profoundly trapped in my role as rancher's son.
And we have to unpack the psychology of being a twin in a big family here, right?
Oh, we do. Duke isn't just a younger brother. He's part of a pair. He's living in the shadow of 4 successful siblings, Cash, Wyatt, Sawyer, and even his twin, Ryder, who seems totally content.
Right. This lost in the shuffle dynamic, it just fuels an identity crisis. He wants to, and this is a quote, figure out what to do with his life beyond Hartsville.
which just suggests that his current identity is completely insufficient for him.
And of course, their paths immediately cross at the local bar, the Rattler. It's surprisingly busy, for a town of only 1,000 people.
And their initial flirtation is already a little skewed because of Duke's awareness. He already knows her last name thanks to Molly.
So he wasn't meeting some random stranger. He was meeting the woman who represented the very life he was yearning for.
And this is where the source material introduces just a brilliant piece of symbolism. The dark game, choosing between 501 or 301.
Yeah.
And Duke immediately starts analyzing her playing style. He reads her as a steady Eddie who plays the long game. She just methodically chisels away points before going in for the kill.
And that observation is the first critical nugget of insight for you, the learner. It shows that Duke doesn't just see a pretty face. He sees her strategic mindset reflected in a simple bar game.
Yes, her business strategy, the long game of Bellamy Brooks, it's just her innate personality applied to business. It's who she is.
What's equally important, though, is the immediate exchange of vulnerability. Duke reveals he lost his parents when he was just 14. And this isn't just a biographical detail, right? It's a moment of emotional mirroring.
Totally. Wheeler, who is so deeply wounded by her own familial rejection, she recognizes that under this handsome, confident cowboy facade, there's a shared sore spot, an unspoken history of trauma.
And that shared depth just accelerates the attraction. Wheeler is drawn to Duke's dreams that are bigger than Hartsville.
He's not just a rugged cowboy. He's an intellectual seeking external validation. He represents this possibility of a life that isn't dictated by geography or, family expectations.
For Duke, the attraction is almost transactional, but in the most positive sense of the word. He likes girls who are going places.
Wheeler is his link to the outside world. She's a nice reminder that the world hasn't passed me by. She validates his desire for liberation. She is proof that ambition and intelligence exist beyond that ranch gate.
And yet, despite this profound accelerated chemistry, where they instantly recognize each other's deep wounds and professional drive, Wheeler just slams the brakes immediately.
Which leads us right into section 2, where we have to analyze this formidable emotional wall she has built around herself.
Yeah. Wheeler's reluctance to form a real serious connection is a classic case of self-defense. It's a strategy she explicitly learned in therapy.
The preemptive rejection strategy.
Exactly. Rejecting others before they have a chance to reject her. And this was honed by years and years of emotional abuse and judgment from her closest male relatives.
The source material is just unsparing in describing the root of this trauma. Her lawyer father, Tim, famously told her, "Men don't like nasty women, so I suggest you keep your big mouth shut."
Just for having an opinion. And her older brother, Preston, wasn't just dismissive of her company, Bellamy Brooks. He actively undermined her self-esteem.
Calling her pizza face during her pubescent awkward stage, labeling her moody and weird.
This constant familial gaslighting just convinced her she was too sensitive, too much, crucially, not easy to love.
So her current priorities work and sanity, aiming for financial independence and self-love. These aren't just aspirational goals, they're survival mechanisms. She genuinely believes she has to achieve total professional self-sufficiency before she can risk any kind of emotional connection.
But Duke, being so perceptive, he doesn't see the wall. He sees the intelligence behind it.
Yeah.
He is captivated. He finds her smart and curious about the world and scary good at darts. He immediately places her on this intellectual pedestal, recognizing her as his equal.
And this is where the dynamic hits its first real snag. When she tests him, asking what he wants to know about her.
His immediate, unfiltered response is everything.
Which, to Duke, is just honesty and openness. But to Wheeler, who is operating under this preemptive rejection strategy, this is a terrifying invasion.
She doesn't have the mental framework to handle everything. She can handle a long game, a structured challenge, a business deal, but not total emotional surrender.
So she flees. She cites traffic and tiredness, the classic avoidance maneuver when the conversation pivots from intellectual curiosity to genuine emotional risk.
And this is a really critical point for the learner.
Yeah.
How often do we run from a genuine opportunity just because it doesn't fit our preconceived protective rules?
And it's Duke's identical twin, Ryder, who provides the external analysis here, which really shows how well the Rivers family understands emotional boundaries.
Ryder, who's Duke's emotional anchor, he confirms that, yes, Wheeler is Duke's equal, and yes, she's interested. But he gives Duke this really nuanced, counterintuitive advice.
Give Wheeler space, but not too much space.
Which is essentially telling Duke you have to approach her long game strategy with a long game strategy of your own?
This insight from Ryder brings us right back to the fundamental conflict of the story. They're completely different definitions of freedom.
Duke defines freedom as escape. He believes that if he's somewhere else, I can be somebody else. His freedom requires movement and shedding this inherited identity of rancher's son.
But let's pause and just analyze the irony here for a second. Duke is seeking freedom from the ranch, which is basically his structure.
While Wheeler is seeking freedom through structure. The structure of financial independence and a meticulously planned corporate life. They're both running from something, but in completely opposite directions.
And the contrast is just laid bare in the source material via Ryder, his identical twin. Ryder is content to do his cowboy thing.
Yeah, he thrives in the structure and the rootedness of Hartsville. He finds contentment, maybe even freedom, in his inherited role.
And this duality is just so profound. They look the same, they shared a womb, but their internal maps of contentment are mutually exclusive.
So Duke is seeking a new identity through proximity to Wheeler's cosmopolitan world, while Wheeler is using her structure to shield herself from the emotional risks inherent in Duke's open-ended world.
This is the unstable foundation that their eventual relationship is built on.
Months pass, and despite that immediate, intense attraction, Wheeler maintains her emotional distance. She sees Duke frequently at the new house kitchen where, as it says, he never misses a meal.
The physical proximity is managed, but the emotional gap remains wide.
This all changes completely in Section 3, the Aspen road trip.
This is the narrative's foxhole effect, where shared adversity just accelerates relationship milestones far beyond any normal pacing.
Wheeler is planning a solo 20-hour drive to Aspen, Colorado for a trunk show. And her vehicle of choice, a horrifying U-Haul truck.
Lacking power steering, reliable brakes, or heat. I mean, it's a death trap.
Duke's reaction is so critical here. It's a transition from, flirtation to genuine protective concern.
He imagines her being bitten by a rattlesnake or plunging the U-Haul off a mountain in the late season snow. He tells her flat out, I need to know you're safe.
Okay, but let's challenge that for a moment. Is this purely protection or is it a calculated move?
That's a good question. He frames his offer to volunteer as her assistant and driver as his chance for a much-needed break.
Which is a justified step toward the outside world he craves. It's strategically brilliant. He gets the girl, he gets the road trip, and he fulfills his desire for movement, all under the guise of chivalry.
That dual motivation is what makes his character so compelling. And the forced proximity of the drive is the catalyst for this intellectual intimacy.
They bond not over ranching or fashion, but over this vast array of shared interests. Some highbrow, some lowbrow.
Ernest Hemingway, Anthony Bourdain, WWII fiction audiobooks.
And a shared love of Excel spreadsheets, Julie Louis-Dreyfus, and a preference for colored Christmas lights. It's so specific.
And the sources are careful to point out that because the truck is so old, they're forced to listen to a country station and sing along to Dolly Parton and Garth Brooks.
Right. This inability to curate their experience forces a pure, shared vulnerability. They have to inhabit the same sonic and physical space without any distraction.
And their gas station stop just chips away at her defenses even more. The haul includes Dunkin' Coffee, Wonder Bread, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, which is a shared childhood favorite,
and the slightly silly fancy-boxed wine for playing slap the bag.
These small, ridiculous details just bypass her intellectual walls. They're bonding over shared, slightly shameful nostalgia and humor.
And the setting accelerates the dynamic further. Wheeler reveals they are staying at a friend's cabin,
which Duke quickly realizes is a colossal, multi-million-dollar Aspen estate with marble islands and double-height ceilings.
This is a crucial moment for Duke. It reminds him of the chasm in their financial worlds. His curiosity deepens. Exactly what kind of family friends does Miss Wheeler Rankin here have?
And then the storm, this massive blizzard hits, and it traps them. This climatic pressure cooker just eliminates the last vestiges of Wheeler's emotional defenses.
Duke, however, is still trying to maintain control over his desire. He deliberately chooses a basement bedroom as far away from Wheeler's as possible.
Right, joking internally about flinging himself off the mountain if he saw her in cute pajamas. He is terrified of crossing a line and spoiling this connection he has worked so hard to build.
But proximity wins. Wheeler walks in and notices Duke wearing these black plastic frame glasses.
And it transforms him in her eyes into a Robert Redford-coded, rugged professor. She sees the intellect and the organized mind, not just the cowboy physicality.
The slap-the-bag game begins, but Duke immediately reverts to his protective role, forcing her to drink water to combat cultitude sickness and taking over the cleanup.
He demonstrates competence and care without judgment, which is the complete antithesis of the toxic male authority she grew up under.
As the blizzard intensifies, the windows rattle, and Wheeler's fear becomes overwhelming. This physical terror triggers her deeper, internalized emotional trauma.
The conviction that she is too sensitive and not easy to love. She initially pushes him away, fearing rejection or judgment for her weakness.
But Duke doesn't lecture her or judge her. He uses distraction and humor. He puts on a 90s music video playlist, starting with Milli Vanilli.
And dances with exaggerated hip gyrations. He forces her out of her fear spiral by making her laugh until she's breathless. This use of humor as a protective shield is just a profound insight into his emotional intelligence.
When the fear persists, Duke insists they move to his basement room, the safest location away from the trees and wind.
And even with this massive bed, Duke intends to sleep on the floor to maintain propriety. But Wheeler is shaking uncontrollably, and she finally accepts his offer of physical comfort.
And this leads to their first physical encounter, which is born from immediate need and fear, not calculated romance.
However, the source material reveals the persistence of her trauma even during intimacy. Her internal monologue is just dominated by self-doubt. I'm not pretty or clever or normal enough to want. The girl who's easy to forget.
She still defaults to this belief that Duke is just lost in lust and will abandon her when the storm passes, both literally and figuratively.
And that self-sabotaging pattern immediately manifests in Section 4, the unplanned pivot. Their connection is sealed with a final quick detour hookup in the U-Haul on the ride home.
A spontaneous, high-risk moment.
And encouraged by this intimacy, Duke immediately tries to define their future. He confesses he wants to date her.
But Wheeler, reverting right back to her protective mechanism, slams the brakes. "I can't, I'm sorry." And she cites her overwhelming work schedule.
And Duke perceptively notes that she's pushing him away before he can push her away. This is the preemptive rejection strategy in full flight, just sacrificing joy for control.
And here is where fate renders all her carefully planned strategies completely irrelevant. 3 weeks later, Wheeler is experiencing this debilitating nausea, seasickness.
And she realizes she forgot to take a single pill.
One single pill. The small, tiny detail derails years of carefully constructed professional and emotional planning.
Molly confirms the positive pregnancy tests. The emotional fallout for Wheeler is immediate and crippling. The sources are so specific, she's gripped by shame and fear.
And she instantly equates Duke's potential reaction with her angry, mean father. This is intergenerational trauma at play. Her first reference point for an unexpected crisis is male rage and abandonment, not support.
And Molly, the indispensable voice of reason, points out the obvious. Duke is a good guy.
But the news is accidentally spilled. Cash Rivers sees the tests on the vanity, and his cobalt eyes confirm the news. Wheeler, panicking, begs him to keep silent until she can tell Duke herself.
Meanwhile, Duke is already feeling the emotional cost of Wheeler's rejection. He's repeatedly tried and failed to contact her, feeling crushed by her silence. He's confiding in his brothers, experiencing grief over this lost connection, not knowing the true reason for her distance.
And this leads to the moment of revelation. Cash, while they're out working cattle, slips the news to Duke.
Wheeler is definitely pregnant.
The reaction is so layered. Duke is initially shocked, thinking of his own parents' unexpected pregnancy that led to marriage. He feels panic, embarrassment, shame, sadness.
He's mourning the loss of his planned freedom and travel, what might have been.
But the internal battle between self-pity and his protective instinct is brief. His protective side immediately takes over.
He texts Wheeler, calls Molly for the Dallas address, and drives 200 miles immediately. This decisive action, even in panic, demonstrates a crucial character trait. When faced with a true crisis, he prioritizes the welfare of the person he cares about over his own shattered life plan.
He arrives at Wheeler's condo, which is marked by this ironically humorous doormat. "Everyone welcome, Jolene."
And he finds her just incapacitated by sickness, surrounded by pillows, and supported by her younger brother, Haynes. This environment, sick, vulnerable, needing help, is exactly what Wheeler has spent her entire life trying to avoid.
And Duke doesn't need a playbook. He instantly provides comfort and structure. He brings cherry nausea lozenges, Dunkin' coffee, and a Reese's peanut butter cup blizzard.
He orders Thai food and insists on taking over her care. He provides a physical and emotional safety net, directly counteracting the toxicity of her father's past.
And then comes the strategic move that forces the issue. He proposes she move back to the ranch.
I want you to come back to the ranch with me, just only until we figure out what to do.
Wheeler, just exhausted by her own bullshit and self-inflicted isolation, agrees. Duke makes it impossible for her to refuse his care without pushing him away entirely.
And this agreement sets the stage for Section 5, which is really the core of this deep dive, the shift from panic to partnership, requiring a complete restructuring of their ideas about ambition and freedom.
The first step is the medical confirmation from Dr. Martinez. Duke is present, unwavering, which is so effective that the medical staff is commenting on his handsomeness and his cowboy status.
But Wheeler notes that Duke's supportive presence and his hotness literally scrambles her brain, making it difficult to maintain the logical corporate detachment she relies on to make decisions.
They openly discuss all the options: abortion, adoption, parenthood, and they acknowledge they're both not ready and just lament the terrible timing.
Bellamy Brooks is booming, Duke wants to travel, her family situation is a mess. This shared sense of loss and forlornness is actually the first moment of truly shared emotional truth that doesn't involve sex or fear.
This shared vulnerability allows Duke to pivot the discussion away from the crisis, the baby, and toward the connection toward them.
He notes he loves her work, he supports it, and that it quite literally turns me on. This validation is revolutionary for Wheeler, who has only ever known professional judgment from men.
He then commits fully. He acknowledges his travel plan is delayed, but states firmly, "I don't want to put the burden of making that choice solely on you."
And this declaration is the absolute opposite of her father's demanding, controlling nature. Duke offers true partnership and shared responsibility.
For you, the listener, this is the profound insight. Wheeler realizes that having a supportive partner, which Duke unequivocally demonstrates he would be, is the piece of the puzzle she was looking for.
She spent years striving for financial independence as a shield, but she realizes the true safety lies in emotional support.
Yet, that ingrained belief that she has to build her empire first to stand alone, it still struggles against this new truth.
And the location change helps facilitate Duke's own mental shift. He moves Wheeler into the newly renovated Old Foreman's Cottage, a separate structured space on the ranch. Ryder helps set up the guest room, showing that immediate family integration and support.
It's here, in the cottage, that Duke has his epiphany about freedom. This is where he begins to synthesize his desire for liberation with his reality.
He realizes maybe freedom is not travel necessarily, or the ability to do what I want.
He continues, suggesting maybe freedom is more about self-expression, the ability to be who I am with people who love me for it, who see me.
He realizes the absence of freedom wasn't geographic for him, it was emotional. He felt trapped in a role, not a place. Freedom means being seen by Wheeler and validated by his family rather than escaping them.
And Ryder, the twin who found freedom in rootedness, he further articulates this idea. He suggests the baby could become Duke's best travel buddy.
He plants the crucial seed. Leaving and staying might not be mutually exclusive. They can redefine what staying even means.
Simultaneously, Wheeler receives massive professional validation, which further strengthens her belief in her own worth. Bellamy Brooks secures 2 major wins.
The postponed Aspen Trunk show pre-orders sell out instantly, and a Nashville pop-up pre-sale sells out in 3 minutes, leading to this huge 5-figure payout.
This success, coming at the moment of her greatest personal uncertainty, confirms that her long game was not a fluke.
And this professional apex immediately involves Duke. Over a massive croissant, Duke uses his intimate knowledge of cowboy culture to offer high-value consulting ideas.
He suggests a men's boot collection, the indoor boots line. This moves him past the cowboy stereotype.
And he pitches these specific, witty concepts: first date boots, prom boots, and the highly effective boots you wear when you want to get laid.
This demonstrates that his intellectual contribution to her business is legitimate and profitable. It's the perfect synthesis. He can be a cowboy, but he can also be a savvy market consultant.
Wheeler realizes she doesn't just tolerate Duke's presence, she wants him to be a part of her ambition. She prepares a presentation to bring him onto the Bellamy Brooks team as a consultant for the new men's collection.
And Molly is ecstatic, knowing Duke has finally found something beyond just the cowboy thing. His need for self-expression is now financially and professionally validated.
And this professional alignment just paves the way for the ultimate personal commitment in Section 6. The foundation of their future is now sound, mutual respect, professional synergy, and shared vulnerability.
External validation arrives at the girls' school fundraiser. Ava, who is Sawyer's partner and a former single mom, assures Wheeler that having a career and a baby is definitely doable if you're having that baby with the right guy.
And seeing Duke interact with his nieces and nephews just solidifies his choice.
In the truck on the way home, the decision is solidified. Duke declares, "I want to keep the baby."
Yes. Wheeler responds not with words, but by launching herself into his arms. And the conversation immediately pivots to formalizing the relationship.
Duke asks her to call him her boyfriend, and she agrees if he calls her his girlfriend.
And Duke's reasoning is so practical and protective. It might lessen the blow for her judgmental family when they get the news. They are forming an official united front against the judgment they know is coming.
And that judgment arrives swiftly. The hostile family visit is a massive confrontation, testing their new partnership immediately.
Wheeler's father, Tim, her mother, Franny, and her smug older brother, Preston, dressed in his telltale pink polo and boat shoes, arrive at the ranch.
Tim is grumpy, and Preston immediately dismisses Duke as a real cowboy, just demonstrating this class and geographic snobbery.
And the confrontation escalates when Preston insults Wheeler and Bellamy Brooks, calling the boots stupid cowboy boots for Barbie. This is the ultimate direct attack on Wheeler's core identity and her years of perseverance.
This is Duke's moment to define himself. Remembering his promise to defend her, he confronts Preston, declaring Wheeler's future company will make more money than Preston will, pushing paper behind a desk.
He places his hand on Preston's chest, issuing a physical warning to never attack Wheeler again. This act is the antithesis of the fear and silence Wheeler grew up with.
When Wheeler announces the pregnancy, Kim is enraged and storms off, demanding to know if Duke will wife her up.
And Duke challenges him immediately. Stay and listen, or he won't be welcome around his grandchild. Duke forces Tim to choose between his archaic, controlling rage and his desire for future connection.
The emotional payoff for Wheeler is just immense. This public defense starts the active healing process for her deep-seated trauma. She realizes Duke is truly her man now, and defending her is just what I do.
The mean voices of her past, that she was too much and not easy to love, are finally silenced by an act of unconditional loyalty.
Even her mother, Franny, acknowledges the profound shift. Franny tells Wheeler she loves Duke, providing the deepest insight into her own compromised past.
She says, the way he defended you last night, your father never went to bat for me like that, ever.
Fran recognizes that Wheeler is on a fundamentally healthier, happier path than she ever was, and is thrilled to be a freaking grandma.
And the story concludes this section with the cementing of the found family concept. The Rivers brothers and their partners throw a s'mores party to celebrate.
Ryder, the twin, calls Wheeler Mama, and Cash symbolically brings the heavy antique bassinet Molly gave him, integrating Wheeler and the baby into the physical legacy and history of the Rivers clan.
In this moment of communal recognition and joy, Ryder hugs Duke, acknowledging the mix of joy and shared grief over their late parents. And it is here that Duke finalizes his new understanding of freedom.
Freedom ain't necessarily about going places, it's about having the space to be myself. He found his liberation not through leaving, but through being fully known and loved exactly where he was.
Finally, we move into the epilogue, the ultimate payoff of their combined personal and professional synthesis, proving that the long game of perseverance applied to both business and love.
Professionally, Bellamy Brooks is confirmed as a women's and men's cowboy boot empire after securing a huge new order.
And Duke, embracing his newfound role in the brand, is confirmed to be going shirtless in the ad campaign, merging his physical identity with the corporate strategy. This is Duke's self-expression made profitable.
Personally, Wheeler achieves total self-realization. She finally sheds that long-held belief that she was not pretty or clever or normal enough.
She accepts that her instincts were right all along, both about her career and her capacity for love.
And this certainty allows her to finally shed the last of her emotional armor, telling Duke, "I'm in love with you too, Blue."
Duke reciprocates immediately. You and this baby y'all are my world now. They have moved past panic and partnership into this profound reciprocal love.
The pace of their life accelerates rapidly again. At Wyatt and Sally's wedding, Wheeler feels the baby move like butterfly wings. Duke places his hand on her stomach, confirming his physical and emotional presence.
And Duke confirms his decision to marry her was never based on the pregnancy, but on their initial connection. He reveals he had dartboards set up at the reception to symbolize their start.
He says, "She just sped things up a little bit. I've been ready to make you mine for good since that first round of darts."
And the final surprise. Wheeler gives birth to twins, Robbie and Maggie, just shy of 6 months before their wedding in Grand Teton National Park.
Duke, the twin who felt lost in the shuffle of a large family, is now the father of a new set of twins. This outcome is the ultimate delicious narrative symmetry.
And they immediately integrate Duke's original desire for travel into their family life, getting the babies' passports and taking them all across North America. 4 years later, Bellamy Brooks has grown by leaps and bounds, and their life is a seamless mix of business and pleasure travel.
Wheeler reflects on how motherhood forced her to redefine wholesome. It compelled her to get back in the water, literally swimming, something she stopped doing in high school because of self-consciousness. She finally shed the shame of her past body issues.
Their life achieves a perfect, unscripted balance. The mix of the unwholesome Duke having a pina colada at 10 a.m. ranch time, and the wholesome like Marco Polo and cannonball competitions with the children.
Duke summarizes their sustained, joyful connection. Every day with you is the perfect day.
And Wheeler realizes that her life is better than she ever could have planned because she was forced to let go of that self-protective, structured path. She found her people and her true freedom, the ability to be fully known, celebrated, and loved, flaws and all.
So what's the big takeaway for you, the learner? This deep dive shows us that Wheeler and Duke both began this story obsessed with two mutually exclusive definitions of success.
Right. For Wheeler, it was that success must be achieved in isolation and structure. For Duke, that success must be achieved through escape and movement.
The unplanned pivot, the road trip, the pregnancy, it forced them to realize that the long game wasn't about professional perseverance alone. It was about trusting oneself and building a foundation of support.
And the Rivers Clam provided the unconditional love Wheeler never received, allowing her to finally stop fighting for her worthiness and focus her ambition outward.
Duke found his purpose and his identity not by running away from his family or his roots, but by integrating his skills and his protective nature into Wheeler's empire. His freedom was achieved through connection, not escape.
The strength of their story really lies in the synthesis of those ambitions. Duke found his purpose in supporting Wheeler's professional long game, and Wheeler found her stability in Duke's unwavering emotional support.
And this leaves us with a provocative thought, something for you to mull over as you consider your own journey. If the source material shows that Duke found freedom not by traveling the world, but by finding the one person he felt safe enough to be himself with.
Does the true measure of freedom then lie, not in where you go, but in who you are when you get there?